Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We extend a very warm welcome to all our guests, participants, dignitaries, and our respected speaker to the fourth session on Get Fit with IMC, I for an I. Requested all participants to be muted to avoid any disturbances during the course of this session. To consume less bandwidth and have clarity, you are requested to stop video streaming at your end. Kindly post all your relevant queries in the chat section so that the same can be addressed during the Q&A session. As we move forward, may I request Dr. Mukesh Batra, Co-Chairman, IMC's Health and Fitness Committee, to present the welcome address and then moderate this interesting session with Dr. Juza. Over to you, Dr. Batra.
Thank you very much, Elby. It's always lovely to see you. And thank you for all your help. It was the British humorist Terry Pratchett who said, "It is often said that before you die, your life passes before your eyes. It is in fact true. It is called life." Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to session 4 of our series, Get Fit with IMC. Today we shall talk about eye for an eye. It is said, an eye for an eye makes the world blind. But we are going to talk about I, the letter I. What is it that I can do and what is that we can do to protect our eyes from various diseases? Before we start, I'd like to invite Mr. Juza Korakiwala, who is the chair of the IMC Health and Fitness Committee, to please say a few words.
Thank you, Mukesh, Dr. Mukesh, and welcome Dr. Surka from South Africa. Dr. Surka has been also an old friend of mine for many years, and he's a very distinguished eye doctor, an eye surgeon in South Africa, having lived there for many decades, and he's been the head of an hospital in South Africa. And I think we can find no better person today to talk to us about eye for an eye than Dr. Surka. And along with him, Dr. Mukesh Batra, as we all know, he's a very distinguished homeopath in India with scores of clinics all over India and outside of India. So we have a wonderful pair today to talk about eye for an eye. So over to you, Dr. Mukesh and Dr. Surka. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, Juza, and thank you for your introduction. We are going to talk, the pair of us are going to talk about the pair of eyes. Let me formally introduce Professor Juza Surka first, before we start. Professor Surka is currently in private practice as an ophthalmologist in South Africa. He is the non-executive board member of Life Health at St. Mary's Private Hospital. He's an associate editor of the South African Medical Journal. And not only does he examine eyes, but he also examines doctors. And he's the examiner for the College of Ophthalmologists of South Africa. He's been the former head of Department of Ophthalmology at Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital and the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences. His scientific papers have been published in several national and international seminars. He's actively involved in the community eye care and outreach programs in South Africa. So thank you, Dr. Juza, for being with us today. And thank you for your time. Let me start by asking you a very common question first. We all know that one of the common functions of eye is obviously sight. But other than sight, what else is it, that the eyes are important for? Like, maybe we could diagnose a lot of diseases earlier, by looking at eyes and taking care of eyes. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, as I say, the eye is one of the most important sensory organ in the body. And it represents almost every part of the body in a different way into the tissues of the eyes. So whenever there are any systemic ailments like diabetes, high blood pressure, rheumatism, even as we know, the common lay people like a jaundice, you get a yellow eyes. And many of the diseases, in fact, manifest first in the eyes. And another thing is that because of the correlation and the proximity of the eyes to the brain, any problem which happens in the brain immediately is visible into the eyes, And as we all know, the eye is the only visible organ in the body. We can actually look into the eyes, look at the back of the eye, and see a lot of things which no other body part allows us to do that. So eye offers us a lot of opportunities, not only for the eye diseases and eye ailments, but as you mentioned, to diagnose and identify a lot of systemic problems.
So it's very important that we take care of our eyes, and it's also very important that we have regular checkups. So what
Absolutely.
would you so what would you recommend is a kind of a protocol for timely checkups with an ophthalmologist, like a normal person should?
I have put up a bit of a presentation together, So if you allow me to go through a few of the slides here and there, it will cover up the things that you asking, in a way that we can all share together.
Sure. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So let me share my screen. If you allow me to share my screen, yes, I'll do this one.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir,
I have
perfect.
titled, that we need to look after our eyes, as Dr. Bhatta has already mentioned, and eye care, do you, is the question in a sense, do you really look after your eyes and care for your eyes? That would be the title of my talk here. And Dr. Bhatta, do you allow me to just continue presentation, or if you want me to ask in between anything, please go ahead and we can do it together.
No, go ahead. First you finish your presentation and then I'll ask you a question. We'll go ahead. Not to
Right. I have put up a short agenda, As I say, I'm not trying to share the medical knowledge about the eyes and ophthalmology, and make it more complex. I'm trying to present something which is simpler in day-to-day lives, what we can do, what we need to know, basic knowledge about the eyes before we go to an eye doctor and seek more further treatment and medical advice. Now, my agenda is the first part of my talk would be few common eye symptoms that we all need to know about. Why do we get? My second part is just a common eye condition that we need to understand and have knowledge about. And then I'll give you some tips about what we can do to look after our eyes in our day-to-day lives. And then, of course, if there are any questions from the audience, and Dr. Bhatta can moderate that, and we will answer those questions in the best of our capacity. Before we go to the eyes and the vision, I just want to have a bit of an impact on people's mind, that we take vision as something that is always there, but if you look at the world, there are serious problem of blindness all around us. There are 285 million people who are visually impaired in the world today. Out of that, 39 million people are actually blind, which is like almost one country who is blind in the world. 82% of the blind people normally are aged 50 and above. So obviously the eye ailments affects the older people much more than the younger generation. And even in India itself, there are 7.5 million people blind with a simple ailment like cataract, which can be cured. It can be a reversible blindness. But we need to do something together as a community ophthalmology. But that is not the essence of this talk today. One day when we get a chance, we'll talk about community ophthalmology, how we can contribute for the prevention of blindness in the world. But for time being, as our topic demands, we look at the eyes, and as I mentioned, that it is the most highly developed sensory organ, and large part of the brain has been given to the vision in compared to the other sensory things like hearing, taste, touch, and smell combined. That shows you that how the body is, although it is just a small square inch in the body, as we call, the size of the eye is only 25 millimeters or 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. But that is just such an important 1 inch of the body. That's why there is so much of a brain tissues have been devoted to the vision and the eyes. But despite all this importance in the body, we still seem to take the eyesight for granted. And my whole idea of this talk is that we shouldn't be doing that. That is foolish, to take eye vision for granted, because we only realize the importance of vision once we lose it. And I think we shouldn't wait until that stage, where we actually have lost the vision. So the common eye symptoms that we normally see, people always complain, especially when I look at the profile of my patients, the common thing they complain about is eye strain, you know, and I think we all know about that. We have an eye strain. Why do we get eye strain? Because we overuse our eyes, you know. Of course, eyes are there to use, eyes are there to see, eyes are there to look around, eyes are there to visualize it. But we need to use a common sense, you know, how we use your
I
eyes.
think this is a little more common these days, especially because of COVID. We are all talking on Zoom, and you know,
Exactly.
we all kind of, you know, fixed with our digital, you know, inputs that we have, and it's
Exactly.
also also more so in children. So even
That
kids
is
today
true, you know.
are on e-learning. So yeah, so please go ahead and you know, tell us what is it that we can do to kind of prevent this or.
Yes. Now, as I say, you know, I just want to highlight, you know, that we never had this kind of a syndrome described in our books before. You know, what we call as a computer vision syndrome.
Yes.
And we know that we are all obsessed with the smartphones and TVs and laptops and tablets. You know, and of course, our eyes are paying price for that. You know, and as you said, the kids are also sitting with the digital media in the hand, looking at the tabs and smartphones, playing games. They're on a social media and so forth. And as Dr. Batra mentioned appropriately, you know, that now because of the corona time and the pandemic, our homes have been transferred into kind of offices and gyms, and we are sitting with our phones almost all the time compared to last year, you know, before the COVID time came in. And that is causing what they call as a computer vision syndromes. You know. And that is because of irresponsible use of the digital media. We get a more of a blurred vision. We got a more elements of the near vision problems. We got a burning and stinking eyes. And just as I mentioned in the previous slide, we start getting headaches, not only the eye problem, but because of our ergonomics, we also get the back and the neck pain because the way we use the phone in a very uncomfortable kind of postures is creating a lot of problems in the neck and the body, you know, which is becoming part of what we call as a computer vision syndrome.
So, Doc,
So,
I'm going to break you here and ask you another question related with this, which is, you know, about progressive myopia, especially in children. So, you know, what do you think of this, you know, new generation now? I mean, I see lots of kids today, whatever age they are, 4 years, 5 years, I find them wearing glasses. You know, in the earlier days, you never used to get glasses till a particular age, you know, and
yes,
now you find younger and younger children getting myopia, progressive myopia. Also, kind of the numbers keep increasing. You find them, some kids with thick glasses. So I just want a few comments on this because I thought it's also related to computer vision.
yes. Also, yes, the computer vision is definitely a part of it. I tell you that there was some research done, you know, a few years back in Singapore. If you see that, if you go towards the eastern part of the world, you know, China and Singapore
Yes.
and Japan, the progressive myopia is much more higher, even compared to the Indian kids. Even in India, of course, that problem is very much profound, you know, of people getting glasses now at the young age. You know. Now,
So
the
what is the
research that
single?
was done was that they kept some kind of they looked at the eyes of the chicken, you know, they kept the chicken in a small stable where there were a very low ceiling, and the people with the chickens were kept indoor. And then there's another group of chickens that they kept outside in the outdoor. You know. And interestingly, when they looked at the size of the eyes and changes in the lenses of the eyes of the chickens, they found interestingly the chickens that were kept indoors in a small environment, which are very limited, uh, low ceiling and all, they found to be becoming more myopic than the one which were outdoors. You know. So the message was very clear, you know, that people who are more outdoors, more sporting, more exposed to the more distance vision, tend to get less short-sighted. You know. If you recall, you know, we always used to find that short-sightedness glasses get out with the impression that the child is a nerd, you know, is a very studious kind of child. That the
Yeah.
reason being it's a effect of the same thing. You know. The kids who are clever were fond of reading books and looking at the things even before the smartphone days. You know, people who are more fond of reading and sitting in the and looking at the books all the time were turned into more short-sighted. You know. And the people who are more outdoors were less short-sighted. So obviously, using the near vision in the young age has got its own kind of side effects. And people tend to become more short-sighted who use the eyes for the near vision. And
Thank you.
unfortunately, because of the smartphones and the digital media now, that problem has got, again, much more profound now because we are using more and more of the near vision organs like laptops and smartphones. So that, unfortunately, as I said, we are paying the price for that. by having this progressive myopia in the children. When a kid
Thank you,
comes
doctor.
to me, with the parents, I try them to say, look, discourage people to read the books and discourage them to read the near vision phone and send them outside, Let them go out and enjoy the outdoor life, So I think that's the one thing we can do to our kids. Encourage them to use their vision more outdoors than indoors.
Thank you, doctor. Yeah, let's go ahead with your presentation now. I may keep interrupting you and keep asking you, related
No
questions.
problems, sir, no problem. Now, the other besides the eye strain, which always, as I say, is an overuse and the computer use, other common symptoms that we get, especially in the older population. I'm focusing more on the 50+ group, here, hoping that there are not very young people listening to me today, but nevertheless, it is relevant to everyone. But we get the dry eyes, and it's a very common symptom I see when the patients come to me, that they complain about with the stingy and bit of burning eyes, and the reason being, that they develop dry eyes. Now, dry eyes can be, number one, because there are not enough tears produced in the body, and that's why the eye is getting dry, and it makes it uncomfortable, and also causes the vision problem because it causes blurriness and all. But besides that, the way we use our eyes, we drive in air-conditioned cars, we sit in an air-conditioned office, where the temperament is a bit more on the dry side, and when we are concentrating in an environment like air conditioning, or driving, for example, we tend to blink less, I mean, we're supposed to blink at least 17 to 20 times a minute, Now imagine how many times we blink in a day. And by the way, the women always blinks more than the men, That's why the blink goes with the women's eyes. But
Doc, is it blinking or is it winking? Or
no, it's a blinking, The women don't wink, the men wink more than the women.
There's a saying which says, tears are nature's lotion for the eyes. The eyes see better for being watched by them. The eyes see better
but I think that the beauty of the women eyes is that they blink more, That makes them more beautiful, I suppose.
So actually, it's good to blink.
Not for the men. Yeah.
No, but it's kind of, because then it kind of keeps your eyes kind of,
No, of course, and the joke aside, yes, of course, when we
So
blink, more, as I said, we require to blink 20 times a minute, and we need to do that blinking.
Yeah, so a related question here, Doc.
When we're driving, we blink less.
So a related question here, Doc, is, a lot of people use artificial tears. So is that recommended? Are there any side effects of it?
There's no side effects of the artificial tears because they are very, very benign kind of medication. It's more like a lubricating your eyes, and there's no harm in using them, provided there are indications to use that. It is not that anybody should just use the artificial tears just to feel more comfortable, because we need to find out what is the underlying cause of the dryness. Dryness can be caused, for example, by systemic diseases, like arthritis, rheumatism. Dry eyes can happen because you are using antihypertensive medication, because you're trying to reduce the fluid in your body. It sometimes makes your eye dry. So we need to identify what is the cause of dry eyes. That requires a bit of examination and discussion with your doctor.
And what are the side effects? What are the side effects? I mean, if you ignore it, for example, what happens? Supposing you have dry eyes for a long time and you don't treat it, then what can go wrong?
You see, the whole mechanism of vision in the eye, the whole surface of the cornea, in the front of the eye, has got its own lipid layers, That's why we've got eyelids, we've got a small glands in the eyelid, which keep on secreting some kind of lipids and keeps the eye moisture and it prevents it from drying. Once the eye dries up and you keep it drying without getting any kind of attention to it, the whole front surface of the cornea will dry up.
Yeah.
Now, in a severe vitamin A deficiency, if you have heard about it, that people eyes was so dry because of the vitamin A deficiency, what we know as the keratomalacia, that the whole front of the eye melts. Actually, I had seen people many years ago in the Kasturba hospital, where I had seen a child whose eyes were the front of the eye, the lens of the eye were completely melted away because of severe vitamin A deficiency and the dry eye. So it's a serious issue, if you don't look after it in good time.
Yeah, so it's good to consult a doctor if you have dry eyes.
Definitely consult the doctor, find out what is the reason why you are developing dry eyes, And then once you identify the cause, then at least you can treat the cause. And artificial tear is just a symptomatic treatment. That is not a treatment. It is more like a vitamins for the eye kind of thing, that you use
It's
it
just
to make it more
temporary.
comfortable.
And there's something opposite of this as well, opposite of dry eyes, like when you get too much of watering of the eyes.
Yes,
Here
that
you
is
are.
the excessive watering in the eyes.
Yeah.
Now, that is now, of course, your eyes will water if you got an irritation in the eye due to different causes. You got your eyelash hurting your eye, or you got some kind of inflammation in the eye. It will water, of course. But in the older people, there is always sometimes the watery eyes without any good reason. The eyes are normal, the vision is normal, patient doesn't have any ailment, but the eye just waters. And some people have become very embarrassing kind of situation where they just sitting and the eyes seems to throw out a lot of water in the eye. Now, mind you, there's another paradoxical thing, that the dry eyes can also cause watery eyes, which sounds very silly, but when you get a dry eyes, because your eye gets irritated, you get a reflex tearing. But so the watery eyes could be because of the dry eyes. But the main common problem with the watery eyes is that we got a small pumping system in our eyes. So when we get the tears from the outer side of the eye, it travels through our eyes, cleaning the eyes, and then it leaves the eye by the inner angle into the nose. There is a kind of a little passage which takes through. Now, as we grow old, because of the eyelid sags, the muscles becomes weak, and that pumping action of the eye is very weak. So it is
Right.
not pumping out the eye drops towards the drainage system, and then it tilts to fall out. So it's a very common problem. Again, it sometimes requires intervention by a doctor. Sometimes we even do a little bit of a surgical intervention to try to strengthen up that pumping system.
So is there
And
something that can be done at home? Is there something that, one can do, self-help?
unfortunately, for the watery eyes, there's nothing much one can do at home, But we sometimes open up the bit of passage and make it more wider, so that the water can leave the eye completely. Difficult to do anything if the eye is watering. It is something that is uncontrolled,
Okay, just manage it
It's
then.
not like crying, Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead, doc.
Yeah. The other common problem that we see in the older people is that they tend to complain about some kind of floaters in the eye. I'm seeing many of us who are listening here would have seen that suddenly they find kind of spots in the eye. They see a bit of a ring in the eye, just like I've shown in the picture, like a web-like lines, And these are all mostly age-related kind of eye floaters. Now, again, the floaters can happen at any age because of the degenerative changes in the eye, because the jelly-like thing in our eye sometimes gets more watery as we grow, and it's like water droplets in the oil or the oil droplets in the water kind of situation, where we start getting this kind of floaters in the eye, and it could be very disturbing. But many a time it is harmless. Unfortunately, it will come like a little crop of spots, and then it will disappear also at the same time. But it can also be a sign of a very potential eye serious problem, like bleeding because of the diabetes. It could be because of the retinal detachment developing in the eye. So one has to be, again, don't take it lightly. If you see sudden development of spots in the rings and things of that nature in your eyes, obviously you need to go and see your ophthalmologist and get checked out and get reassured, that it is just a floaters. There are no issues, and if there are issues, you start dealing with it as early as possible.
So, another question, related with this is, of course, now there are no frequent flyers, but earlier when one used to fly frequently, the night flight was called the red eye flight, because, whenever you took a flight in the night, you lost sleep. And another common thing also is, is kind of redness of the eyes, and also kind of a conjunctivitis, which could be either viral or infective. And, we now believe that sometimes this can also be a sign of COVID. So what are the how can one help, in cases of conjunctivitis? And is there any tip that you can give, particularly in this COVID age, on how to protect your eyes?
The red eyes is something that could be very minor. As you said, it could be just because of you had a good party last night and had a bit of drinks, come up with the red eyes next morning. Yeah. Or it could be a serious problem in the eye. So my only advice at this point of time would be, if you have a red eyes and which is persistent, for a while, you need to get your doctor to look at the eyes. Now, some people have the tendency of developing red eyes because, as I said, it could be part of the eye strain. You need to find out whether are you using
Yeah.
your eyes a little bit more, not in a proper manner, or do you have any kind of need for the glasses because your vision is itself is compromised, or you are, as I said, you're using your smartphones and things like that. If you party too hard, we expect the red eye next day, but that is fun.
So, doctor, the second part of my question was, regarding, sometimes you get these eye symptoms also in COVID, even though rarely. So, any kind of tips that you can give us on how can we prevent any kind of eye infection, or how do we deal with eye problems, during COVID era?
No, there's nothing. There's no different about the redness of the eyes in COVID versus any other normal flu or cold and flu. So there's nothing specific about COVID affecting the eyes any differently from other flus. So it is not even early sign of COVID. It is not even diagnostic value in terms of having COVID. Like, for example, if you lose your taste or if you lose your smell, then we know that it could be part of the COVID. But as far as the eyes are concerned, fortunately, as far as the COVID is concerned, there are no serious eye diagnostic or of a prognostic value in terms of redness.
Okay, that's good to know, Doc. Please go ahead with your presentation. Let's.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll go to the second part about the common eye conditions that we all need to know about. Please keep me on the time also, Dr. Batra, in case I'm going a bit slow.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe in about 7 minutes we can close because.
Okay, fine. Now I'll do that. Let me talk about the common problems that people have in life. The one is the presbyopia, or what we call as a difficulty in reading. We get a blurred vision in the normal reading distance, and as anybody who crosses the age of 40 years would have felt that that they eventually find the reading becomes difficult. The lights, they require more light. Mind you that as we grow between 40 to 60, we require normally 3 times the light that we required before the age of 40 years to read. So obviously there would be a problem. The eye requires more light, 3 times more light, which is quite significant. And it is a part of the normal aging process. Anybody, as I say, will go 40, will need reading glasses. So don't try to denial that I don't need the glasses. I know people don't like to wear glasses for reading, and it looks like they are an older person, but unfortunately, when the need arises, one has to use the reading glasses.
Yeah, Doc, there's also a kind of a misconception. People think that if I start using glasses, my number will keep increasing, and then I will get used to it.
You said it very correctly. Actually, it is a very universal kind of myth. That we start using glasses, you keep on using glasses forever. Theoretically, it is correct. Because what happens is, the age of 40 years, you develop the near vision problem where you use, let's say, for example, 1 diopter lens, and by the time 50, it becomes 2 diopter. And at 60, it becomes a 3 diopter. So it is not that because of the using of your eyes, you are just living long enough, and that's a good thing. So that you will have to keep on using glasses after that until you are 60, 70. Then when you go for a cataract surgery or something nowadays, because of the new techniques, I'll touch on that a little bit later on. People can be without glasses again, because of the new advancement.
One of them is also LASIK, which I have.
The LASIK, LASIK is more for the short-sightedness in young people, but yes.
Or any other surgery that you think can actually get rid of glasses now.
Absolutely. The other common problem that I would like to touch on is the glaucoma. Now, this is really a serious problem, and something that people are not aware of it or not being taken seriously in the community. The glaucoma, I think most of us know about it, that it is because of the increased pressure in the eye. And when the pressure in the eye increases, your optic nerve, the nerve which supplies from your eye to the brain, which has got 1 million nerve fibers, starts getting damaged. And if the glaucoma continues and the high pressure continues for a while, you start losing your nerve fibers from 1 million to 100,000 gone and 200,000 gone. Eventually, you can lose the vision completely if you don't look after the glaucoma. Very common thing. Unfortunately, it's difficult to diagnose glaucoma because the people don't have any symptoms. They don't have any reason to go to the doctor because nothing happens in the eye. We also call it as a snake thief disease, because patients are normally unaware until they go for a checkup for something else, and then suddenly they pick up that, oh, you got a high pressure in your eyes and you got a glaucoma. But there are some risk factors like age, family history. If you have anybody else in the family having glaucoma, you have racial background. It is more common in the black population, in the Indian population. Diabetes is another risk factor. And if you are short-sighted, you have got more chances of developing glaucoma. So if you have those kind of risk factors, it's important that you go for your regular eye checkup. Very common after the 50 years, and unfortunately, it cannot be cured. Only thing we can do at whatever stage you come to us, that we can't restore your vision, but we can prevent the vision loss by the lifelong management of using either eye drops or a laser treatment, or even the surgical option. Sometimes we go for the glaucoma surgery if the pressure is too high. So glaucoma is really a serious problem, and because it is not been diagnosed easily, the onus is on us, to see that we go for a regular eye checkup.
Yeah, so the best way to avoid it is to make sure that after 50, you go to your ophthalmologist and get your intraocular pressure checked, and you get your eyes checked regularly, and hopefully you can, prevent it, and that may be a good solution.
Yes, sir.
And we have some questions coming in, Doc, and I'd like also, if there's anybody else who'd like to ask questions, you can please post them on the chat, and we'll take them in 5 minutes. So I'll ask you the question later, but you can go ahead with your presentation. But this is also for people who are watching. Please put your questions on the chat, and we'll ask Dr. Surka those questions, and we'll request him to answer them. Yeah, please go ahead, Doc.
The next other common problem is the cataracts. I think most of us who are above 50 know about cataracts, that we've got a normal lens, and as we grow, because of the protein deposits, we start getting the lens becomes more cloudy, or vision get disturbed. There are different kinds of cataracts. I'm not going to go into the detail, but the only thing I would like to mention about cataract is that if you live long enough, you're all going to get cataracts, just like getting the gray hairs. So the risk factor, again, smoking, diabetes, ultraviolet exposure, and the taking a steroid, especially systemic steroid medication, can cause cataracts a bit early. But a cataract without even any risk factor, as I say, if you live long enough, you're going to get cataracts one or the other day. The surgery is the only way. There is no other treatment. There are no eye drops, no medications, no vitamins that can prevent the formation of cataract. And cataract surgery, as it stands today, is one of the most successful surgical procedure. The visual outcome is almost, success rate is more than 95%. And people are quite happy with the cataract surgery nowadays because of the latest lens implants and the technology, which allows us the very higher level of precision in treating the cataract surgery. And it is advanced so much that now with the multifocal kind of lens implant, people who don't even need the glasses for distance and reading, and they use this new kind of lenses, which are very good.
So, Doc,
my wife could be the, yeah.
No, please. I mean, we must hear about your wife first.
No, I was just saying that she had undergone this surgery where she doesn't use any reading glasses,
Yeah.
and she's quite happy about it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And a happy wife is a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, and she can see you better. That's also important. So we have some questions coming in. We just take them one by one, and after a little break. So the first question is from Milan Mehta on how effective are blue block lenses in the present overload of digital viewing.
Yeah, the research has shown, there are special intraocular lenses, which is a yellow color lenses which blocks the blue lights, So there are lenses, as I mentioned about the new technology. So the cutting of the blue light, even generally, it's more on the ultraviolet side, of the spectrum. It definitely prevents what we call as a macular degeneration and effect on the retina. So those yellow lenses or those blue light blocking glasses are definitely helps to prevent the UV exposure and also the degeneration and the effect on the retina. So they are good lenses. Yeah.
Okay, great. Please go ahead. We'll ask some other questions in between. There are many more coming in now.
Oh, wonderful. The third problem that I want to talk about, the common thing that happens is the diabetic retina. diabetes is exploded in the third world countries, and lately in the last 20 years, a lot of people are diabetic, especially in our Indian population. The heart problems and diabetic problems are much more common. The way our body has been built up, our vessels are a little bit different in configuration. And we tend to get a lot of diabetic retinopathy, which is, as you see in the picture, what can happen in diabetes for the normal uh, retina versus the diabetic retina. Now, it damages the small blood vessels in the eye that they start leaking in the eye. And then once there is a duration of the diabetes and the control of diabetes, two important factors. Please mind my words, duration of diabetes and control of diabetes. If you have a diabetes for a long duration, for more than 10 years, irrespective of your good control, you're going to get some kind of retinopathy in the eye. In fact, 1 in every 3 diabetic patient will have some changes of the blood vessels in the eye. But if you have a long duration of diabetes and uncontrolled diabetes, then your chances of developing serious retinopathy is much higher, which actually can lead to a visual impairment and blindness. And the regular checkup for the diabetic patient almost every year, if there is no problems, but if there are any issues picked up by your ophthalmologist, even twice in a year, you should have your eyes checked.
So, Doc, there's a related question here from Miloni Anand, who says that with 50 years of diabetes and now at age 78 having glaucoma, how long would it take for blindness to come?
There is no
I
particular.
mean,
there's no kind of a fixed, I would say, the etiological thing that you have. Yes, but if you got 50 years of diabetes and if you had been checked all along and you found that your blood vessels are still healthy and there are no serious leakage, and if the controlled diabetes, you can still not go for the blindness or the visual impairment. And some people can develop visual impairment within 2 years of diabetes because of the severity. There are also other factors, your whether you are hypertensive, whether you got a blood pressure, whether you have a high cholesterol, whether you have a kidney problems, because of the diabetes. So there are multiple factors and variable factors to kind of have a prognostic value of the diabetic retinopathy.
Great. Please go ahead, Doc. We'll keep asking you questions in between because there are many more.
That's fine. I'm almost coming to a small. The other common problem that I think is very common in the old people, and many people must have experienced that, what we call as a age-related macular degeneration. Now, as the name suggests, it is a degeneration at the back of the eye where you lose your central vision. So it affects your reading. It affects you to identify faces of the people, just like as you see in the picture here. You are not completely blind, but your central vision is severely compromised. Now, it's a common eye disorder that causes the loss of central vision. It does not cause complete blindness. So if you develop a macular degeneration, you, of course, going to be significantly handicapped because of your loss of central vision, but you're still going to retain your peripheral vision, and you will never going to go completely blind. It's a progressive thing. As you grow old, the degeneration just keeps on progressing, and it distorts your vision. But nowadays, we've got a new mechanism, new eye injections, what you call as the intravitreal injections, of the VEGF factor, has shown a very good results in cases of macular degeneration.
Thank you,
Lastly,
Doc.
I just want to touch on, sorry, Doc.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, I think one thing I want to touch is the last thing, which is the common thing that happens again, is the squint of the eyes, which is more commonly seen in the children than the adults. The reason I'm mentioning this for the adult audience is that we have children, we have grandchildren, which might manifest a squint in the eyes at the young age. And most of the time, we tend to think that it will go away as the kids grow, which is a myth. We should not take it lightly, because we've got 6 muscles in each eye, which controls the eye movements. If there's any kind of misalignment of the eyes, there could be different reasons. It requires treating either with the glasses or sometimes with the even early surgery. Before the child becomes 9 years old, we need to bring the both eyes into alignment so that the both can send the same signal together as the binocular vision to the brain. If you don't do that,
Doc,
one eye becomes weaker than the other eye, and what we call as ultimately a child grows up with the lazy eye.
Yeah, that was my question. You've already answered it. That a related question is also lazy eye. So
Yes, that is because if the child has not been looked after before the age of 9 years, you allowed it to become weaker, thinking that the screen going to disappear. In the meantime, the screen doesn't disappear, but the vision in the eye disappears. Okay, I've just talked about the common element. I'm just going to talk quickly, Dr. Batra, to the top tips, just to see what we can do.
No,
we'll
come, Doc, we'll come to tips right at the end. So let's leave it for the time being.
Okay.
I will ask you that later. Let's stick there. I'll now ask you some questions, which people have put forward. We'll have enough time for tips towards the end. So one question which is asked by MS Federal is, do contact lenses play any role in the dryness of eyes? And also, contact lenses was really a fashion once when people started wearing colored lenses just for effect. So is it really required? Are there any side effects of using them too long? Some comments on that.
Okay, if your eyes are healthy, if the eyes got a good tears, good lubrication, contact lenses are absolutely fine. And when I say contact lenses, I mean either you use contact lenses for improving your vision or you use for cosmetic reasons to beautify your eyes. It is not an issue, but we need to always, before your optometrist or your ophthalmologist give you contact lenses, of course, he will look at your eyes and find if there's got no other eye allergy or any kind of dryness in the eye or any other infection in the eye, which then, of course, is a contraindication for using contact lenses.
Great, thank you very much. Another question from Vrinda Tosniwal. She says, my 4-year-old daughter had a power of -1 in eyes. Now she's 6 years and she doesn't have the power, but she has a tendency of eyes irritation in which her eyes turn red. What shall I do to protect her eyes?
This is a little bit unusual that the child is a -1, it normally is normally the people have a +1 which disappears by the time they become 6 or 7 years old, The kids who are short-sighted using -1 normally doesn't disappear, by the age of 6 years. So there is something not correct here, Is it a -1 or +1? I'm not sure. But the -1 normally progresses as the child grow up, So I think we need to have a proper re-examination. It's difficult for me to comment further on this.
I understand that. Also, we can't actually comment on personal cases here. It's not fair. So another question from Rajni Soni is, should we increase our water intake for dry eyes? Also, are there any exercises that you can suggest for dry eyes?
No, the answer to both of them are no. The increased water intake is not going to cause any kind of going to prevent any dry eyes. You're just going to go to the loo more frequently. That's all.
Okay.
And as far as what is the second question? Sorry, I forgot about the
exercises.
Exercises. The exercises is, again, there's a lot of myth about eye exercises. We see a lot of little funny thing on WhatsApp about people using eye exercises for improving the vision in the eyes and so forth. Yes, there are times when we actually, what we call as the orthoptic exercise we give to the eyes, to bring the eyes into alignment and improve the vision in both eyes and improve the depth of vision. But generally speaking, to answer your question here, the answer is no. The eye exercise doesn't play any important role in improving the vision or improving any other eye condition.
So somebody has mentioned that, Ayurveda also helps in certain eye conditions, and, maybe some alternative and complementary therapies may be useful. And as a practitioner, I would say that there is some amount of clinical research that has been done as well in some conditions. But I think for most of them, you should go to an ophthalmologist and get it checked.
Yes, yeah. No, for the alternative medicine, the yoga has been mentioned, yoga has got a tremendous positive developments in the body. I mean, we know that how it helps all kinds of muscles in the body. And eye also has got muscles in each eye. So there could be some benefit of the yoga exercises in the eyes, but I really won't be able to comment further with lack of experience and kind of study that. It is not evidence-based, for me to say anything.
Yeah. So Palvi says, very informative talk with useful slides. Thank you so much, Palvi, for your appreciation. Another question is about trigeminal herpes in the eyes.
Sorry, the herpes?
Yeah, trigeminal neuralgia, I suppose. Post-herpetic neuralgia is what I understand from the question.
Yeah, no, but that will be difficult to answer here, but because it's a very specific condition, and the herpes virus, just to say, generally speaking, when you get the herpes infection, as we know as a doctors, the herpes infection never disappears, it just becomes dormant for a while, and it can get triggered off by any kind of a stimulant like bright sunlight or emotion or whatever else, So trigeminal neuralgia, unfortunately, even post-herpetic or otherwise, tend to resurface all the time, because of different kind of stimulus. But there's nothing more I can say at this point of time here, on this talk.
Well, I can add that there are some very good homeopathic medicines for post-herpetic neuralgia, again with some clinical evidence. Another question that is from Aarti Agarwal is, do you recommend laser for correcting vision in young girls? Is it safe?
Yes,
Laser?
it's very safe. Laser surgery, not in a very young person. It has to be the age of where 18, at least 18 years old, because the eye tends to keep on growing and the short-sightedness also keep on changing until there is a full growth of the body. So we normally monitor for a while whether the patient is a good patient for a laser or a LASIK surgery. But as the procedure itself done properly in a safe hands, there are very little complications nowadays of LASIK surgery. So it is reasonably safe.
Great. Another related question by Kavita Garg is, after laser done, my friend's son, one eye has become small. I mean, I don't know.
We again, I won't be able to comment on that here. There's no reason for it to happen, because we do not, when you do a LASIK surgery, we don't deal with the whole eye. Just we are reshaping the front of the eye. So it should not happen, But when you say small eye, that we need to investigate more, Maybe if she is interested, she can send me an email with more details and pictures, then I might be able to comment on it.
Sure, thank you. There are some few other myths that are coming up, and I'd like you to, post them for your consideration. Avani says that, does looking into the sun help reduce eyesight? Almost 15 years back, she went somewhere for such treatment.
Looking at the sun with the naked eye is the most dangerous and silly thing one can do,
Yeah.
It is only going to burn your retina, That's why we don't even allow to look at the eclipse, with the naked eyes, as we all know that.
The other myth is on surma and, any side effects from overuse, wrong usage of kajal, surma, which is normally
I have a bit of a tips in there. I'm going to show you one slide on the tip, about to answer
we'll come
that.
to that. We'll come to that later. Another question is that, can one get a number back after 10 years of laser?
Yes, it can happen. There's always a bit of a shift in the refraction sometime after the laser surgery. It is a known fact, and person can get not 100% it, but if you are -5, for example, and you go to your LASIK surgery, you may find after a few years from 0 you went back to -1 or whatever. So it is possible, unfortunately.
Okay. Another question from Gemini is, can we wash eyes with tap water? Is it safe to wash eyes with tap water?
If the tap water is good enough to drink, it's good enough for the eyes.
Great. So we have a lot of, other people, congratulating you and thanking us for this talk. Thank you so much, doctor and the gentleman, patience to read all our queries and to actually answer them. We'll now spend the last 7 minutes on tips and closing. So you could please go ahead with some top tips. What do you recommend?
Okay, fine. Let's look at this. The first tip about the 20-second computer break. As I said, I mentioned about the computer vision syndrome before, and then if we, as I say, the staring at the computer or the cell phone is not going to hurt your eyes, but it can make them a bit tired and dry. So we must follow the 20-20-20 rules. Every 20 minutes, look 20 feet away for 20 seconds. It's not asking too much, but that makes a big difference in the comfort of your eyes. Remember, in 19-20-20, you're going to follow 20-20-20 rule. Okay.
Easy to remember, easy to follow as well.
Every 20 minutes, 20 feet, 20 seconds. The second tip is always wear sunglasses. the UV radiation can hurt your eyes just like it does your skin, you know. And we always protect against the sun
So,
cream and so forth, you know. And this effect of ultraviolet radiation does add up, and it can cause problems like cataracts, corneal burns, and even the cancer of the
so,
eyelids if you are a fair complex person.
so may I clarify here that, unlike, people, film stars who wear them inside the home, you need to wear them when you're outside, not
Yes,
in the
yeah.
dark. Not in the
No,
dark.
no.
People
Yeah.
wear
But
sunglasses in
if
the
you're
dark.
exposed to and remember, even on a cloudy days, you can have exposure to ultraviolet radiation. So
Sure, but
wearing
when you're,
sunglasses is a good thing.
I mean, people wear it at night. I've seen people wear sunglasses at night. I'm saying,
They have a different reason to hide their red eyes, you see.
yeah, the night before.
That's the reason I put a film star here next to it.
Go ahead, Doc.
Now, third hint is that don't ignore eye problems.
Yeah.
If you have anything like a red, itchy eyes, you can use some normal drops like antihistaminics, just like we use antihistaminics systemically. But if you feel the sand of your eyes, you can rinse your eyes with the normal saline better than the tap water. If you can get the normal saline, because that is more appropriate for the body. And if the symptom continues, please don't ignore them. If you find that things are not coming hand, don't take chances. Get an expert opinion and let them tell you whether the eyes are serious problem or they are no serious problem. Tip number 4, of course, I don't think I need to mention that you must eat for your heart and for your eyes. And I mentioned the good food here that you should eat. My wife will complain again that I talk about this thing, but I follow. Unfortunately, I also don't follow completely, but I should be doing that. But we all indulge now and then. But I think it's a good food is important. Even carrots do help eyesight. As I say, we don't see rabbits with the glasses, So carrots are good for eyes.
A related question here, Doc, before you go ahead. You've spoken about nutrition, and yes, of course, food is medicine. We understand that, and therefore it's very important. And especially, like you said, vitamin A for night blindness, for blindness, and even good for eyes. My question really is, what about nutraceuticals and vitamins? Because there are lots of people who actually keep taking them, forever and ever. Are they really useful?
This is quite controversial, the supplements of any kind, we can't overdo that, the body only needs certain amount of vitamins, whether it is vitamin A, B, C, D, E, or whatever. If you're taking in excess of any vitamins, as we understand, is a common sense, is not going to help. You're just going to excrete them in your system. But if you find to be deficient, we should take vitamin supplements to assist us.
So it should really be taken.
Carotene,
it should really be taken on medical advice. I'm saying that's what I would recommend. That
I would definitely say so.
Yeah. So when it's required and when it's necessary, and your doctor tells you to take it, sure, take it for a period of time. But not just self-treat yourself and keep taking it forever and ever. I think that is something again which a lot of people do on their own. And I think
I concur that absolutely. That you just can't take vitamins because you think vitamins good for the body. It's not true, and it shouldn't be treated that manner.
Thank you, Doc. Please go ahead.
Tip number 5: know your health history. You need to know about your histories and your family histories about things. Diabetes and high blood pressure can have reduced blood flow to the eye, as I mentioned. Your thyroid problems, your lung problems, your other inflammation in the body, like arthritis and so forth, can affect your eyes. So when you go to the doctor for the eye checkup, don't forget to mention about things that you have. Even if you had a previous history of malignancy, you need to mention that, because we find a lot of secondary changes sometimes which is related to your previous malignancy or other systemic conditions. So please, your health history is very important for us to know, and so always share your health history fully with your doctor. Also read the drug labels. A lot of drugs, or a combination of drug can affect your vision. In fact, most of the medication that we take nowadays, whether it be for hypertension, for arthritis, for other chronic conditions, they all have a bit of a side effects in the eyes. Either they call dry eyes, they cause changes in the retina, they can changes, like I mentioned about steroids taking can cause cataracts and so forth. So you need to be very careful about taking medications. And again, when you take medications, see that if there are any symptoms in the eyes, which is because of those medications, you seek medical attention as early as possible.
Doc, another related question here quickly, that is really about the expiry date, particularly of eye drops. People continue using them without looking at the label on the expiry. I mean, does it make any difference? And is it harmful?
Look, the theoretically, ethically, any expired drop on the medication is expired. You can't use it. But having said that, sometimes you can pass the expiry date a little bit and still use the medication. But I'm not going to officially make those kind of comments, because theoretically, as I say, no medical professional will advise, that you use the expired medication. But there are no side effects, The only thing is that you might not get the full effect of that drop having expired. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah. The tip number 7, I think we did talk about, the kajal and surma and other thing in the eye. The eye makeup is found to be another problem, that normally we deal with, because of the women using eye makeup, and the eye makeup can grow bacteria. Remember that. If it is lying on your dressing table for a long period of time, it's definitely going to cause some kind of issues. Most of the time, it is not so harmful. But if it is harmful, if you find any symptoms in the eyes, please throw away your makeup after 3 months, and don't share your makeup with your siblings, your sisters, your family members, or your friends, because that can transmit infection from one eye to other eye. So use very discreetly the cosmetics, and if you find here that you're using a new cosmetics and you have a problem, that could be the reason for developing eye infection and eye allergy. So always keep in mind and inform your doctor again that you have changed the brand of your makeup, which could be the reason for developing those kind of reaction in the eye. The next one is, this chart is for my young adults, like Dr. Batra, who can come for the eye checkup, and use this vision chart. Go for the eye checkup regularly, and even if you don't wear glasses, and if you are 18 to 60, you have to go almost every year to go to your, 18 to 60, you go every 2 years, but after 60, you need to go, and especially if you've got other ailments like diabetes or high blood pressure or a family history, go for the regular eye checkup. It is a must, and you should do it religiously and diligently. The last tip is stop smoking. No big deal. I think everybody understands smoking is a problem for every other thing in the body. And the smoking is a problem for your eyes, with especially macular degenerations and cataracts. So the good thing is that if you quit smoking, your risk of eye disease is about the same as that of non-smokers. So I think if you can, please let the smoking go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Surka. Thank you for this evening, very well spent. And thank all of you for having joined us. I'm sure it's been very, very useful for all of us. And we've learned from your experiences. Finally, they say that the eyes are useless when the mind is blind. And, they say that minds are like parachutes and they function only when they open. So while, let's keep an open mind while we understand that our eyes are a God's gift, but we do need to take care of them. And we do need to visit our ophthalmologist for regular checkups. Thank you very much, Dr. Juza, for your time and for all for sharing your experience with us. And God bless. And thank everybody for having joined us. Thank you very much. We now close this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Batra, for your help. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Mrs. Surka.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. It was
Thank you.
nice to be in touch with my Bombayites again.
Thank you, Dr. Batra, Dr. Surka from South Africa. Thank you so much for making this whole event possible for our participants and for IMC. And thank you,
so
Chitra,
much.
for coordinating it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Juza. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juza.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
I mean, Juicer squared. Thank you, Juicer squared.
Dr. Batra.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's a
Bye.
right, there's like a right and left, right. There's a right juicer and the wrong juicer.
No, both are right. Right now, both are right. Even though one is on the left and the other is on the right, but both are right. Thank you very much.
Well said. Well
Yes.
said, Dr. Batra.
Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Batra.
We are on the
Thank
dot of
you.
6, so we are
Thank
leaving
you.
now. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you. Thank you, doctors. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye bye.